So, Merry Christmas. Thanksgiving's officially over, and I'm tackling the Hobbit movies. Up front, I like all three of these, although they're nowhere near as good as the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It's clear the same amount of passion didn't go into these movies. Peter Jackson himself even admitted, like, he was initially signed on to write a script treatment. The original director backed out. He took the film then, and he said as he was filming it, the passion came back. So, yeah, it wasn't as much of a passion project as it was a cash grab by New Line. It has numerous things that are digital that could have been miniatures or practical sets, even digital orcs that don't look anywhere near as good as the practical orcs from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But despite the problems, I still enjoy them. The three leads are Ian Holm as Bilbo, Richard Armitage as Thorin, and Ian McKellen as Gandalf the Grey. Still a fun little movie. This, I think, is the best of the three. I'll get into more of it later, but these two should have been one movie. But this one follows the book pretty closely, with nowhere near as much filler as the other two. Bilbo meets Gandalf. He gets the dwarves at his house. We get some fun scene there with the That's What Bilbo Baggins Hates song, and it's exactly as high energy as I always imagined it in the book. And that's the one thing I keep coming to with this movie. When it's something from the book, that's how I imagined it. So that's a positive. All the roles are acted really well. We even get characters referenced in The Lord of the Rings, but we never get to see, like Radagast the Brown, played by Sylvester McCoy, the last actor to play the Doctor in the classic era of Doctor Who. And this movie does have some good character development in it. Like, the whole thing is leading towards Bilbo earning Thorin's respect. Thorin's constantly looking down on him until the end of the movie, and all the dwarves are done really well. They each have their own distinct personality. Even though I hate the names of these dwarves, I hated them in the book. You have groups with similar names like Bofer, Bifer, Bomber, Feely, Keely, Dory, Nori, Ori, and it gets annoying. It's easy to get them mixed up. But when these films, well, I'll just start with this one. When this film works really well, it works really well, and the misses aren't quite as bad as the other two. I like the stuff at Rivendell, and I even like how it expands on points in the books where Gandalf isn't there, and it shows us what he could have been doing. Like the whole subplot with the necromancer in the teasing that it might be Saruman. If you read The Lord of the Rings, the evil was in Mirkwood in the Hobbit. Gandalf told Frodo that it was later found out to be Sauron, so that works. We have Saruman in here as well, and it's one of the things I don't like. You kind of feel like he may have already turned evil, but for my money, Saruman did not turn evil until some point after the council dispelled him from Mirkwood. I think the power terrified Saruman, and he started using the Seeing Stone to look for the ring, look for something that can be used against him, and that's where he began to turn. But that's not there. That's not here or there right now. We do get to see other cool stuff, like we get to see the scene with the trolls, which again, that's kind of what I imagined it would have looked like in the book. So, yeah, this one I'm pretty happy with, despite its flaws. Although this does, how should I put this? It's a modern movie in the sense where it feels like it was made for people with low attention spans. Like, we'll have action scenes that really don't need to be, like the thunder battle, which was something completely different in the book. Here it was two stone giants fighting, and I felt like it was something for low attention spans. Like, we went too long without a action scene. The part where Thorin and the gang are abducted by the goblins is cool. Would have been a lot better if they had practical goblins. The Riddles in the Dark sequence is the best sequence in the movie, but of course it's also the best sequence in the book. It was great to see Andy Serkis back as Gollum. Ian Holm holds his own against Andy Serkis really well, and the scene is done very good. Other standout scenes, when they find Orcrist and Glamdream, and once Thorin hears Orcrist, and they don't know those are the names yet, but once he hears it's an elvish blade, he's immediately repulsed, and then Gandalf's like, you could not ask for a finer blade, and he takes it. They get the weapons identified at Rivendell, and what I like, despite Thorin's hatred for orcs, where in the second movie it is taken from him by an elf, Thorin's hatred of elves. With this, Elrond examines the blade, and he's like, fit for a king, may it serve you well. Like, he has no qualms over letting Thorin keep it. As far as he's concerned, it is Thorin. Although in Thorin's case, he does have some reason to hate elves, because when Erebor was attacked by Smaug and his people were driven from it, they asked the elves for help, and King Thraorin just flat out refused. And what they're trying to do is not only take Erebor back, but they want, at least Thorin wants, the Arkenstone, which is this glowing jewel that was like the crown jewel of the kingdom, and it's like represents his right to be king, because that's what his father thought it was. There's some theory that the Arkenstone may be a Silmaril. You can look up what a Silmaril is up in line. I don't have video time to get into it, but I'm on the fence. I don't think it has to be. We see, and it's something that comes up in the second and third movie, Thorin's father was already suffering from dragon sickness, and it was, did the Arkenstone cause the dragon sickness, or was it the straw that broke the camel's back? I think it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. This beautiful glowing gem was the thing that pushed him over the edge. And even in this film, there's a few scenes where how single-minded he is about getting to Erebor. We see the beginnings of the dragon sickness actually beginning to work its way into Thorin, but it doesn't start to take hold until towards the last half of the second movie. But it works. It does set a lot of scenes. This movie lays a great foundation, has the fun moments. It's the most lighthearted of the three. And it also has some great emotional moments, like after the Goblin King scene where they run, which is basically a more comedic version of the Fellowship fleeing from Moria without the Balrog. Which, like I said, that whole thing, it was all CG, and it did disappoint me, because I'm like, wow, if this was the Lord of the Rings trilogy, there would have been practical sections, miniatures, CG. They would have done it all to make this scene look even better, but it's done. The studio wanted CG, and the quality of the film suffer for it. They get cornered on a tree by a group of orcs, including the leader, Azog the Defiler, who has a past with Thorin. Thorin challenges him and gets beat, and it's Bilbo that rushes to save him before the other orcs go to fight, and the eagles save them all. And when the birds carry them, I don't know how many miles, and let them go, and Thorin comes to, he's acting like typical Thorin. In the rest of the dwarves and Gandalf don't look happy, and Bilbo looks shocked. He's like, didn't I tell you you weren't cut out for this? You wouldn't survive in the wilderness. You'd only get in the way. And then he changes his tune and he goes, and I've never been more happy to be wrong. And he hugs Bilbo. Bilbo earned his respect, earned his friendship, and the relationship between them is different from this point on, which was another great touch in this film. And what I love is there's a good setup before that. After Bilbo finds the ring and escapes Gollum, he's still invisible. And what I like is that it's not the Shadow Wraith world of the Fellowship, because Sauron's influence hasn't taken hold. It's not a scary looking place to be. Once he hears how Thorin's expecting him to leave, he takes the ring off and comes back. Another interesting touch, at first I thought this was a negative, but Sting, the sword Frodo gets, well, the dagger really, in Bilbo in this one, it had a softer glow in the Fellowship, but here it had a much brighter glow. And I like, maybe is it Sauron's influence even dampening the magic that makes that blade glow? Like, is his evil quenching all sources of light? Because there's also the point where in Radagast Forest he's finding dead and dying animals, and this is the forest where Sauron set up shop, and it's like his evil is already affecting and killing smaller and more innocent life forms. So those are cool little touches. This film I'm gonna give an A minus, and I'm being generous. I should probably give it a B plus, but I'm gonna award extra points just because it is my favorite of the three. If you haven't seen it, I'd say check it out. Just don't expect for it to be another Lord of the Rings trilogy, because it's not. Those are 3 books and 3 movies. This was 1 book and 3 movies. They never should have done it like that. They could have gotten away with 2 movies, but yeah, the 3 movies was a mistake. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Over and out.